Welcome, everybody, to the Heart of the Artist. I am your co-host, Whisper Poet. I have my awesome co-host over there, Catalyst. And our guest today is the Chameleon Poetic, Terri Rose Jertson. Terri, I just want to tell you, you are like a complete human. You rescue dogs, you rescue the community, you sing, you have a karaoke show, you're a published poet, you got it all going on. And apparently from the poem you told us last night, you're also, making sure things keep rolling at home. And that is not an easy thing to do, to be a working mom and wife and keep all of those plates in the air. So yeah. I think you're muted, darling. You're muted, babe.
Yeah, I moved on to the porch outside because I don't have any quiet space in my house.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
If
absolutely.
if I'm ever being interviewed or anything, I always have to fight for my space.
Fantastic. So
Yeah.
tell us, first of all, like, how on earth do you juggle all of these things and still have time to have creative juices flow and actually be a productive creative poet?
I think it's because I use it as therapy. And I think it really helps me because I don't always have somebody to go to and talk to. So I talk to my pen, and then my pen writes down my feelings and I get it out that way.
Now, if I remember correctly, you're in a therapeutic-ish profession, are you not?
Yes. I do recovery, peer recovery, work with clients who have addictions, who are women who are pregnant, and who all probably at one time or other will have DIFUS involvement. And we work together with them to help them regain control of their lives, basically, and so that they can be the best moms that they can be. And we try and help them do whatever is required of them to do from DCP&P if they're involved. So we're supportive, and then we stay with them until the baby turns 1. And so we're helping with the parenting end of it too, and any other thing that they may need, like food, housing, groceries, your basic things they usually need when we first encounter them. It is challenging work, to say the least.
But your
Sometimes,
whole
yeah.
face, your whole face lit up when I asked you about that and you started talking about it. The light in your eyes came out, your face lit up. You love what you're doing, don't you?
I love it sometimes. The challenging parts of it are challenging me. Not I maybe I need to grow, and that's why I'm being challenged. But I sometimes I just get my heart broken over things. So, like, I didn't have a very good experience earlier today. So I was kind of saying earlier that my heart feels broken right now over one of my clients.
And that speaks volumes about you, that you have such a great capacity to invest yourself in the success of another human who is not related to you, but they're still in your safekeeping. And it's a
Right.
wonderful thing. Do you ever use your poetry as part of your process with them to help them to do some therapeutic stuff?
Um, well, I also am a creative. So what I end up doing a lot of times is art therapy with them. And I'll give them journals and pens, and I'll tell them to do some journaling because it's proven to help uh, therapeutically for people in recovery. So I give them that and the science behind it, why it's good. If they never did it before, they're hesitant usually to start, but if they do start, it's amazing. But I also, not with everyone, because not everyone is feeling crafty and into doing these kind of art therapy type things. But the ones that are, they're all in. And so I bring like my bag of tricks with me, which I have whatever in there, and then we work on different things together. So I came out here for more quiet, and somebody decides to have their car alarm going off. I don't know if you can hear that.
We can't,
There's just
we
no
can't.
quiet. There's no quiet where I am. I can't find it. I'm still looking.
So that's the challenge then, right? To find it within your own mind and get that moment of space that you need.
Yes. Yes, I'm going away at the end of this month. I can't wait. I'm going on a cruise, so I'm excited about that and much needed vacation.
Yeah. So are you going by yourself? Are you taking people with you?
Well, my dad is a character. I guess everybody's dads are characters in one way or another. But he's a character because he'll say things to me like, well, I don't know if I'm going to be here next year. I don't know. And he's always talking how he's going to, how God's going to take him home and all this all the time. I guess it's just par for the course when you get to be a certain age, you're thinking about that. So he wanted to do a family trip and he sponsors this family trip for us. I mean, if it wasn't for him doing this, I would not be going. Trust me. Trust and believe I would not be going because it's a lot of money. And I don't know. He just is a saver his whole life. So he just did whatever he needed to do to have money at the end. He did what everybody else was supposed to do and didn't not to find themselves in a position where they could do something like this. But he's thankfully in a position where he can get
That's
his whole family together on a boat and
that is
sail them
fantastic.
away.
So what does he think about your poetry and your books and everything? Is he creative as well?
No, no, he's very I don't know, left, is it left or right brain? Right
I think
brain.
isn't it right brain that's or is that politics?
Right brain.
Does the brain follow the
Left
politics?
brain. Left brain is the creative side. Right brain is the analytical, numbers, finances, logic. That's him.
There you go.
I'm left. He's right. So we meet somewhere in the middle. But he read one of my poems and he actually read my book, which I was shocked because I just didn't think he would do it. Like I gave him a copy because he um he said he wanted it. I asked him if he wanted. He said, "Yeah, okay." Send it to him. He actually read it, got back to me with some words, and said to me, "Oh, you blame everything on your parents." And I was like, "You read my book." Just totally disregard that statement. You read my book. You had to read my book for you to say that to me. You read it. I said, "Wow, I just can't believe you actually
Of
read it."
course he read it. This is little girl.
And then I said, "Thank you for all the material. God, rich in material." My mother, my muse, mostly. Uh, I don't have any. I don't think I have poems specifically with him in there about anything specifically about dad. But definitely my mother, my muse, and then my parents. Blah blah blah. So yeah, he's in there in you know adjacent.
So how about your kids and your dogs? Does your writing kind of reflect the chaos of your life?
Sometimes it does, yeah, because I have some poems in there that are all chaos and name chaos as an actual event happening in my life. I just had to move into the backyard because I just had like a whole slew of people coming by that were all like really loud. I'm just like I say, I'm trying to find my peace. This is a little bit of a city that I live in, so there's
Mhm.
a lot of noise. Always something happening, like fireworks in the streets, parties on the weekends, loud cars going back and forth, like revving their engines, motorcycles up and down the street, dogs next door barking, my dog barking. Yeah, it's always woo. It's a circus.
It sounds like kind of a joyous melee.
Yes, it
And
can be.
that fits what I know of you. Like,
Yes.
we don't know each other very well yet, but that to me is like what I see of you. Like this sort of joyous, chaotic melee that you just can't help smiling with.
Thank you. My neighbor has these chihuahuas and they're crazy. Like they don't recognize me every time I see them. They don't recognize me and they go after me.
So what do they think about your rescue dogs? Because you do dog rescue.
I actually have not been officially a dog rescue. I have been just rescuing my dog right now, and I've been looking into rescuing other dogs, but I haven't done it yet. Um, I'm I'm still weighing how or what I could do with that. I have to get some things in shape around here, I think, I live in an older home and it needs a lot of work, and a piece of the fence just fell down in the backyard, and I have to make sure that it's secure back here if I'm going to take on any other animals. My dog knows where she can go in her boundaries because she's been here for a long time, but other dogs won't. And I can't have them breaking free and getting loose and running through this neighborhood because they won't be a welcome addition. People don't like that, and there's laws against it down here, so you don't want to risk that happening
But
unless
you
you
are
don't know.
very, very passionate. We talked about this a little bit, and you're very passionate about.
I'm very passionate lately about the breed, the laws that they're targeting certain breeds, and the pit bull is one of the breeds that they're doing specific legislation in Congress. They're trying to get legislation passed to say that these dogs are not suitable pets, which so many people have these pit bulls as pets, and they're members of their family. How can you say they're not suitable pets because you want to target this breed? It's so typical of everything that's going on right now with the rest of the things that our government is targeting. I just, so whatever. Whenever there's a petition or anything out, I make sure I sign it. I'm signing all the legislation. I'm signing my name on all the petitions. I'm purchasing things from places like Pitbull Addicts and other sites that are organizations devoted to saving pit bulls. Um, I make sure that I'm contributing somehow. I donate to their cause, and I'm passionate about it because I own a pit bull. And I even have to pay higher insurance on my house here because I own a pit bull. They
Yeah.
made my insurance higher because of that dog breed. They want to know, you have a dog? What kind of dog? And right away they target, whatever they think. She's not the only one. They think other dogs are dangerous as well.
It's really a shame to have all of that money put into this legislation issue and instead put it into educating people about how to be a good dog owner.
Yeah,
Like,
I
educating.
also pass on all the animals in LA. There's a lot of the shelters are not no kill. So if you don't pick up if you don't get a dog out of one of those shelters, the dogs are going to be killed. So they put out these posts showing the dogs and how they're interacting with people, try to get people interested in adopting or fostering these dogs. And I also pass on those. I share all those ads. I share them. They're all over my stories to try and get interest. But unfortunately, the shelters out in LA only want people from LA to adopt their dog or
Mhm.
foster their dog. They're not going to ship them across the country to New Jersey to me. So if I fall in love with one of your animals, I can't do anything about it except pass it on and hope somebody else falls in love with your animal that lives out in LA or out in that area somewhere where they can go get the dog.
So, do you
Yeah.
have any poems that you've written about the dogs?
I have my Violet poem. I have to go back in the house to get it. Oh, I hope they didn't lock me out of the house. Hold on one second. I
I
didn't
would,
even think of
if
that
you
when I
can
came
get it, I would
outside.
love to hear that. I think it's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah, I'm out here. Don't lock me out of the house. My
So
husband
the
just
pit bull
did
rescue
lock
that
me out
I'm
of the house.
affiliated with here, they actually will transport if they find someone in Pennsylvania or wherever, they will deliver the dog there, which is lovely. That they are able to do that and have the resources to do it because obviously that's very expensive. To transport a dog across several state lines. Um, but yeah, they need people like you who are very committed to that. So.
Yes.
And so your
So I'm
dog's
in the
name is
house again.
Violet? Is that right, Violet?
Yes.
Lovely. I love
Yes.
that.
Her other owner, my son, named her.
Now, is
And
she
and
a
she got
blue nose?
she is a speckled black and white. She has the black mask.
Oh,
I have I don't know if you can see, I drew a picture of her.
oh, that
This
is,
this is actually a painting I painted of her licking my face. It's in my book.
I love that.
And there's the
You're a very
drawing.
talented artist. Add one
Yeah.
more thing to your list.
Yes. Well, I like to draw and paint when I have to be inspired. I'm not always in the mood. I mostly make sure I write every single day because that's my new thing. I like to. It's more therapeutic. Um, And I don't know what I'm feeling when I actually create things. I feel like there's a lot of stress and pressure on me to get it right. So I don't really feel like when I draw and paint, it's therapeutic. I feel like I'm trying to get something right, and if I don't get it right, I get frustrated and I get, like, oh no, that doesn't look right. And I keep working on it until I get it to a point where it's what I like, and then I leave it alone. Kind of the same. I do that sometimes with certain pieces of poems that I don't seem to be satisfied with right away. But these poems are haikus about my dog Violet. Getting my light. It's really hard to see in the dark in this house. My dog is Violet, black and white spotty buddy, constant companion. Duotone pattern, my Palomino puppy, I wish I could ride. Jumpy quadruped. She tries to stand on hind legs, balancing on toes. Moo moo cow doggy, her two colors remind me, speckle, white, and black. Her peers next door say Violet is a bad neighbor, barking night and day. My dog ate my food. Bad girl, you know what you did. Kissing me, wet licks. Trying to make up. No, it's not that easy. Put outside to think. Okay, it's my fault. Pancakes were left on the sink. Your sense of smell strong. Too hard to resist. I try to think like a dog. Know this about me. Demanding my love, you sit there so pathetic, giving me those eyes. I should feel guilty for the crime I committed, for not loving you. And then the one that is with the dog licking my face, I have, where has that tongue been? The dog licks her face. Wet, slobber, yucky. So that's an ekphrastic one for that
Those are
that I
fantastic.
wrote
And I do,
after.
Carlos put a thing in the chat about the Palomino puppy. I love that. I love that. And I actually see a horse on the wall behind you. Is that a painting or a photograph?
That is a print that I got from somewhere. I like horses, and it's been a long years since I got on a horse. But uh, Marissa Prada actually put out a call for some help trying to rescue a horse. And I was all in. I was like, let me know what's going on with that. Let's name the horse Poet. Let's all chip in. Let's let it be everybody's horse. And I don't know, it didn't go anywhere. I guess nobody really had any money to throw in there. And I asked her about it afterwards. I'm like, well, whatever happened to that horse? And she said she doesn't know. And I was like, oh God. So yeah, they do the same thing to horses that aren't wanted as they do to these dogs. And so I didn't want to hear anymore because I couldn't bear to hear that any more people or things or animals are getting destroyed.
Well, when we finish with the interview, I will share a happy horse rescue story with you, and that'll make your heart happy, make you smile. But I love
Good.
that
I really
you were.
love to be considered to be a part owner of a horse. I would be like, like all your like little mommy, I want a pony dreams come true.
Yes. But I love this that you're like mother to the dogs, and you're mothering everybody. This mother love that you have it just spills out of you, and it's beautiful light, and it innervates who you are as a poet too, and as a creative. How did you first start writing? When do you first remember writing poetry?
Well, you know, when you're a kid and you have a diary, your mom might go out and get you a diary, and it's the first thing you ever write in. It's this little book, and it has a little lock on it and a key maybe to make them think that you're not that or make you think they're not going to go in there and read what you wrote. Which yeah, okay. So I had this thing. I don't know how old I was. I know I was pretty young. When I first got it, I was just learning how to write, and you could tell by my writing that it was just like big writing of a child. So I don't know how old I was when I got it, but I started writing things in that book, and some of them were like, my grandma said I had a big mouth, something like that, and I was mad about it. Like I would take all my anger and I would put that in there because I couldn't. Back in the day, when I was a child, you could not say your feelings to your parents. They did not want to hear your feelings. They just want you to get out of their face and go do whatever the heck it is they just told you to do. And if you have anything to say about it, that was called back talking. And you would, not you, but I would get a beating for that. So instead, I couldn't express myself. And so that was very frustrating to me. And probably every child. So the ones that weren't able to express themselves, I don't know what they ended up doing, but thankfully they got me a diary and I started writing in there. And I just kept writing in there for, I don't know, I guess up until I got older. And I think I was still writing in the beginning of grammar school, but I think somewhere midway when I discovered boys, that was that went on hold. And then I started hanging out with my friends and started having crushes on different boys and hoping they would go ask me to go study. And back then they used to give you rings or bracelets or ID bracelets with their names on them. And then that whole like first kiss thing and were they going to get to first base thing. And I, of course, I was flat chested and never developed until I got out of grammar school. And even in high school, I was still somewhat flat chested. So, I mean, when you don't really have a shape, guys don't notice you. I was invisible for a very long time until I started to really blossom out. And then I started to get some notice. But by that time, I think I had already had a boyfriend. And so I really wasn't out on the market. I wasn't available. But I did write a piece about the guy who I fell in love with in kindergarten, who I noticed, the first boy I ever noticed. And then later on, I went to high school with him. And then I went to a 30-year high school reunion, and he was there with his wife. And I walked up to him and I said, I have to tell you something. And I didn't care how it was going to go over with him or his wife, nothing. I didn't care. I was just like, I have to get this off my chest. You don't understand.
That is
And
fantastic. So do we get to
I
hear the
know.
poem? Do we get to hear the poem?
Oh, it's not in my it's not one of my published ones in my book, but it's very funny. I don't know if I could dig it up later. I don't know. Oh my God. I should have. Well, I didn't even know I didn't know what we were going to be talking about, so I wasn't ready. But
I can
in
totally
essence,
see when you're a kid and like
yeah.
your parents give you this diary because, back talk and whatever. I can see you not being so much as maybe a back talker, but I've already recognized about you that you think out loud. Like whatever's in your head, you have stream of consciousness coming out of your mouth. And I can see how, as a child, that might be viewed as being back talk when really you're just kind of thinking out your thought processes. And you're curious and you question things. And I can totally see that.
I got into trouble a lot for my mouth and things I was saying, and I had to learn to get a handle on it back, especially because I went to parochial school. I do have a lot of poems about parochial school,
Oh.
um, because for 8 years, actually 9 years, I was in parochial school. And when you're in parochial school, you go to church every single day in the mornings. You're there every day. And then on Saturdays, your only day off. And then Sunday, you're back at church because if you're in parochial school, that means your family's going to church. So Sundays, they're dragging you back in there to church. And man, on Sundays, that was the last place I wanted to be because, hey, I was just there. I was just there for like 5 days. Like, so, oh my gosh. When I went to high school, they were putting me in parochial high school. I'm like, I cannot deal with this anymore. I am done with this. So I begged to get out of that high school. And I finally got into public high school. And that's when my life actually started because before that, I was kept in a bubble and I wasn't associated with anybody at all. And then when I got to meet everybody in high school, there was a lot of kids there. I mean, I started going to parties and drinking and got drugging and all the things my parents didn't want for me.
Was it like that Billy Joel song? Virginia, don't let me wait. That song?
Exactly.
Cadillac Girls,
Uh,
much too late.
exactly. Yeah. I love Billy Joel. He was actually so popular when I was growing up. There was a lot of Billy Joel songs going around.
So, do you feel like this early sort of religious indoctrination, if you will, colored your view of the world in such a way that it's had an impact on how you have expressed yourself as an artist?
Well, I can't be anybody else but who I am. So yeah, probably. Um, it kind of helps me also because I didn't just keep my mind stayed on that one thing. Um, I got involved with a lot of other, or not got involved per se, but educated myself on other religions that were out there, other spiritual ways of being, and even getting into recovery. It kind of also broadened my scope as far as what do I consider to be spiritual? What do I consider to be, having a practice of some kind?
Mhm.
What do I know about? What do I think about the Catholic Church? What do I think about Christianity? What do I think about the worldview of it? And if they're correct, if they're not correct, I write about that too a lot because I witnessed a lot of things in some different churches that I did not agree with at all. And
Mhm.
I still most recently I went back to this one church that I was going to because they have these different things they have for women going on, like events and different things. And they were having this Zumba thing that they call refit. And the girl, I had a conversation with her and I said, hey, my church, which was right down the street here, broke up because they didn't want a lady pastor in it. And everybody left and said it wasn't biblical. And I said, the early church most definitely had women that were integral parts of the church. But the woman who I was having this conversation with says to me, yeah, but they weren't pastors. So that just goes to show me that nothing is ever going to change with those, old timey views of how things are supposed to be. They're not going to come into the 20th century or the new millennium. They're going to stay back in wherever they are with that indoctrinated thinking. They were brainwashed into believing. And so I can't be a part of that really. I mean, don't go to church now because I can't really be a part of that. I do have my beliefs, but they're not so, antiquated, you know.
So we've sort of shed the dogma a little bit, maybe shed the dogma
Yeah,
and kept the good bits.
I feel like they have scales over their eyes that are never going to be taken off. I mean, I feel like the eyes have been opened for me, and that doesn't mean that I'm, now I'm an atheist. I don't consider myself to be an atheist or any other beliefs that, you know, I'm not indoctrinated in any one belief. I don't know, non-denominational, I guess. That would be a good topic, good label if I had to be labeled.
That's a great label. So how did you come to name yourself the Chameleon Poetic?
Well, I had a little help with that name. I don't know if Brian's in here, but uh, Brian Franco, he has a very good way of titling his poems, and he titles people too. So he titled me the Chameleon when he couldn't remember my name when I met him in person because when I first started in the poetry groups, I had pictures of myself with pink hair, and not until a few days ago my hair was actually pink. So I had different color hairs. I would put just the different filters and I would have all different color hairs. And he would not know who I was in person because when I came up to him, I looked like this. And he said, I didn't know who you were without the pink hair. And then he said the chameleon, right? So we got talking about my book, and he was one of the people who actually reviewed my book out when we were before he actually reviewed it. We were talking about titles, and he had said that, why don't you call it something with the chameleon? But I came up with Chronicles because it sounded like it went well with Chameleon. Plus, I wanted to do another couple of books. So I figured Chronicles means there's going to be more coming. So
Good
that's
thinking.
why I titled that. But I wasn't the only one that liked that name because I went in the Goodreads and I found a lot of people like that name and titled their book that name. But thankfully, there's no like copyright on a name of a title of a book. So as many people that want to call their book the Chameleon Chronicles, they can from everybody here on in that want to do that, they can just go ahead and do it. There's no,
Well, it's good
you know,
advertising for you too, because every time someone searches them, they're going to pull you up as well.
I hope. So it's or you get buried in a haystack of needles with under other books. But I also have subtitles, so it's the Chameleon Chronicles. First edition is Words Never Spoken. So the
Mhm.
Words Never Spoken make my book unique because no one else has that title yet. And so the next one I have to come up with a subtitle as well to go along with that for my next book.
Well, since you're talking about words never spoken, maybe you should share a poem with us or two from that book.
Sure. I kind of wish I would have published that one about my first love, but I think I was kind of I was still being a little bit shy about wanting that out there.
I can see that.
Um, that was my problem. I was too shy to mention that I had a crush on this guy.
Crushes
So,
are always terribly awkward.
yes. So, I'm looking for the poem about.
I remember the one about the dentist. I read that one at one of the early Heart of the Artists.
Is that are you making a request for that one?
Sure, I would love to hear you read that. That was a great poem. It was fun too.
Yeah, I have a drawing that goes along with that too. So I had getting back to how that poem came to be. I had a lot of problems with my teeth growing up. I had a dentist that convinced my mother that I had a cavity in every single one of my teeth. And there he was constantly, like, seemed like every weekend, all I was doing was I was in that dentist chair while this guy was making money off of my teeth by drilling holes in all of them, filling them up with silver, which now has mercury poisoning and stuff in it. You can get mercury poisoning from all these silver fillings. And meanwhile, I had a whole mouthful. So these are the drawings, if we can see them, about some of the drawings I did about the dentist. So let me get back into the light because this is.
I love that you illustrated your own book too. That is so fantastic. That must have been a real labor of love to do that.
Actually, what happened was I had when I first wrote the piece, I drew a picture because I it was so emphatic in my mind what I was feeling that I wanted to make a picture to go along with it. And I had it in a journal that I was just filling with poems. I just drew it in there. And so when I tried to get it out of that journal and put it in the book, it was a little bit of a process moving it from there to here. But yeah, that was already in existence. They came into being at the same time.
Wonderful.
So here we go. These are also haikus. My teeth are failing. They are not married to me. Throbbing pain ailing. Dentist, eye candy. If I was only younger and he not married. Looking, explaining, bracing for the painful truth. Cannot save the tooth. Since I was young, met many dentists that I hate. Money making snakes. Trading bones away to insurance companies for Maseratis. I want to keep them. God gave them to me, not you. You begged to steal them. Novocaine shots fail. Pain prevails, surging through bones, igniting anger. How can I show him just how bad this is hurting? Punch him in his face. Nazi dentist said, "Don't you bite me, no." He had it coming. I actually did bite that guy because he was a son of a bitch. I hated him.
I
And
can
I was
see
like,
you.
I'm going to bite you, motherfucker.
So have you found a kinder, gentler dentist now that you're a grown up?
I don't think the kinder, gentler, and dentist don't belong in the same sentence. They just don't.
Okay.
I
There's
mean,
like an
it's
oxymoron.
yeah,
Oxymoronic.
it's a battle.
I love those. And I don't think I had internalized that you do the whole, you're into the whole haiku thing. Because we have our other friend Chanson who's really into the haikus, and they are not easy to write. I've been struggling with that myself.
I love the form for the reason that it doesn't it doesn't prohibit you from getting started on something. Like if you're having trouble getting, like for me, if I'm having trouble getting started on something, I can at least get out 5 words about it. And then from there, I can just, expand it a little bit and expand it a little bit more. And it doesn't have to be a full blown poem. It's not intimidating. The form to me is very friendly. I like it.
So I'm going to relate
And
this to something that you said earlier, because you were talking earlier at the very beginning about how, you push yourself and you want it to be a certain way. You drive yourself, and sometimes that gives you stress and anxiety on something that really ought to be, relaxing for you. And so, do you feel like you use the haiku as sort of um, a buffer from feeling that overwhelming sense of pressure if you're trying to write like a full-on poem?
yeah, it does. It's not as, yeah, there's not as much pressure to write the haiku. Like a lot of times, if I go into Tumble Words, which is a workshop they have on Saturday, and I go into every kind of workshop that there is. If I get a subject matter that I'm not familiar with, that's another good way to get something out about it. Because if I'm not familiar, maybe I only know 5 words about your subject. So I don't want to not write anything. So I'll write the 5 words down and I'll be able to at least come up with 2 more sentences, short sentences about it. And then if I get a story going with it, that's how I get like started on a story about it. Like if I start something, it looks like it's going to go somewhere. Then I can add more. Yeah. It's just for me, it's a way to get me like a writer's block, unblocked.
And that's, I mean, obviously that's really important because writer's block is something that everybody struggles with. So, I mean,
Right.
you kind of sound like you've developed a tool that has been very effective for you with your writing.
Yes.
All right, we need some more. Give us some more. Lay it on us.
So I have, what was I talking about before that I was looking for? One of my I have actually I was interviewed by Yvonne Booz for NPR, and I actually did a poetic affair where you read your poem, and I had 2 of them that I read. So I can read you those. One of them's
Absolutely.
called Ode to the Daisy, and the other one is called Little Bird. Little Bird is about my son. Little bird, where are you going after you leave your first home? Will you fly off to start great adventures or remain hidden, refusing to roam? Will you meet your partner for life or will you cower and die alone? No, spreading your wings to astonishing heights. This is my prayer for you every night. Little bird, your name. Oh, I'm sorry. Little bird, your mama knew when it was time for you to soar. She gave you the push you didn't ask for. So
I love
that's
that. That is absolutely beautiful. And see, like even there, you're sort of pulling back in this nurturing energy,
yes.
writing about the baby bird. And so that was about your son. What did he think of that when you shared that with him?
Um, I didn't share it with him. I'm I'm gonna give him one of my books, but he's really not into poetry,
Yeah.
and so I don't want to force it. He's not really into any of this. He
You
doesn't
have
understand.
two
Yeah.
kids? Two kids?
I have one that's 23 and the other one is not living here. He's out living with his he lives with his dad, but he's in his 30s, 36 now. And neither one of them are really into the creative juices or the flow. My younger one, cat, he has a musical talent it's genetically programmed and wired into his body, but he doesn't take it and do anything with it, and that drives me insane a little bit. And I did try and push that with him, but I think I ended up pushing him away from it because I pushed so hard. I'm like telling him, you can pick up something and make a song. No, not. Do you know how many people would just kill to have that talent? Like you just not even doing anything with whatever.
So where
Maybe
does that
someday he
talent
will.
come from?
Maybe
You
maybe
said
someday he will.
you said he has that sort of, bred into the bone. Where does that come from?
His dad. I mean, I have a love of music, and I just one of those frustrated musicians who doesn't know how to play anything. But I mean, if you give me A B C D E F G, and you give me letters and numbers, and I can coordinate that. If something's numbered or lettered for me, I can do it. But otherwise, I can't. I mean, sometimes I can do it by ear, but it's not consistently enough where I can actually do that all the time. Like it's just kind of sporadic. but it's not also, I know how to read music too, because I learned that. One of the things they used to teach us back in the day was how to read music. But I'm like, what is good is knowing this if you can't apply it? So actually, like during the pandemic a couple of years ago, I went to get piano lessons because I thought I could learn this. I know I can learn this. I just need somebody to teach me, right? So I went and I paid this woman to teach me, and she started to teach me, and I started to learn. But then I don't know if it was right before the pandemic or something happened where she had to stop.
Yeah.
And then I think it was the pandemic hit with everything had to be shut down. And that's what stopped it from happening the rest of the way. She was trying to keep it online, and I felt like I needed to be there in person. I felt like I did, it wasn't because I tried to do it online before and nothing happened with it.
Yeah.
So with that particular thing, I felt like I needed to be in person. So I will get back to that. I will, but for now it's on hold. So this second poem I'm going to read to you is Ode to the Daisy. And this is another thing I love, flowers. And they're all, they're not all in bloom. They're starting to come up now, but I have a lot of flowers in my backyard. No other flower suffers at the hands of men like the lowly daisy. Vexed humans systematically pluck off each of its petals for sport. And if that isn't enough, when we don't get the answer we hope for, we find another helpless victim to sort. As if they had a choice. Do they feel pain? Would they scream if they had a voice? To die for love is a noble cause. That is what the daisy does. I can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
I remember seeing that poem in the book and just loving that and just really responding to the message of that poem. That is what the daisy does. Love that.
Yes. So if you want to, the other thing I think I was looking for was the church poem. This is about me feeling like because I was indoctrinated at such an early age into the church, I actually thought that I had the calling and I wanted to be a nun.
Wow. Okay.
So I have this poem called The Calling. When I was in third grade, approximately 8 years old, I was mandatorily required to attend church every day except Saturday. Children, as the rule of the day, were to be seen and not heard. I could not voice my displeasure or risk getting beaten with the belt for back talking. Punishment was corporal. DCP&P did nothing back then. If I dare buck the system. Having independent thoughts were always risky and never fully understood by my elders. As I grew, I learned about the Holy Order and thought perhaps if I was good enough that God would take me in and save me from my sin and the rest of the world, which seemed so corrupted to me at the time. I tried to be good. I did everything the nuns told me. I prayed hard. I meditated on God's creation, but not his word because that was only for the highly educated priests who had the calling and could interpret all the symbolic and secret languages penned by the saints of God. I asked myself the question, could I be a saint? My family said no way. Why was that idea so far out there? Weren't the priests and the nuns at one time someone's sons or daughters? Were they not human or transformed into something greater? I would not give up my quest. I wore the scapula. It was blessed. I was instructed if I never took it off, I would automatically go to heaven. I told my mom when she asked why I would never take it off, but she seemed to be annoyed by my answer. My mom had a general annoyance with all things associated with the church at the time. She, for one, did not believe we had to attend Catholic school. I remember my parents disagreeing about many things back then before the divorce. However, I knew I had the calling and no one was going to tell me otherwise. When I mentioned this to the Holy Order, they didn't take it seriously. When I mentioned it to my mother, she just laughed and said, no woman in this family could ever be a nun. She said I would not understand this until I was older.
I love that. No woman in
I
this
know.
world could ever be
My
a
mom,
nun.
my mom has a good sense of humor.
Your mom does. A little bit of a body sense of humor there. I love that. So you literally spent formative years in the company of nuns on a pretty much daily basis.
Penguins.
The penguins, yeah. So
Holy Order of
obviously, Blues Brothers resonated.
The penguins on the bloody telly.
So, why do you, Shaki G? We got some great people here to see you today, by the way. Awesome folks, awesome folks. Um, why do you feel like poetry, because it's obviously your primary creative outlet. Why, of all of the arts, because you're multi-talented, you're musical, you paint, why of all the arts is poetry the one that really resonates most deeply with your spirit?
Um, I'm not sure why. I think it's more accessible than a lot of the other things. So if I'm going to sculpt something, I need to get the clay out. I need to have a workspace that I'm going to make a huge mess. I'm going to have to be covered. My clothes are going to have to be covered. I'm going to have to incorporate another way to finish up that piece. And there's going to be paint. There's going to be water. There's going to be slip. There's going to be, you know, maybe a potter's wheel, or maybe, tarps everywhere. Same thing with painting. Like, I love it, but it requires a lot of getting it started.
Right.
This requires a pen and a piece of paper.
Yes.
I can put the pen and paper right near the bed, and if I have a thought, I can jot it down. And I can be half asleep with one eye shut, like stuck, and I can still get a piece out. Like, it's just so much more accessible. And it doesn't have to be a perfect piece. It just has to be recorded, and I can get back to it later, like, just before I forget it. I don't want to lose that thought. But I can't tell you the number of thoughts I had over the years that I wanted to make this or that or the other with a painting or a sculpture, or learn music. It's just a lifelong process with the other things. It's just not it doesn't happen as quickly for me.
Right.
This can be a haiku, this can be a 3-liner, and that poem is done. I mean, it's like total instant gratification. That's what it is for me.
Well, and I think it has to do too, not only with the cost, I'm guessing, of, it takes a lot of money to be a musician, to be an artist. The supplies are like crazy expensive. But you're right, as long as you have a pen and a piece of paper, or sometimes you don't even need that, you can poet. And it's almost like creative asceticism, you know, like just pared down to the bare minimum, your pen and your paper and yourself. Very bare,
Yeah.
very bare bones. And
there's nobody telling me I can't.
Yeah. No rules.
No one said I couldn't.
So when do you think that your other book will be coming out? Are you still kind of collecting material for that, or what's the?
I have a lot of material. I have a lot of material. I have been trying to figure out, where do I go with this book? Do I get it all together, and do I start sending it places to see if somebody wants to publish it? Or do I just start asking people, because there are a few people that are doing publishing now that weren't before? Do I go to them and ask them what their process is? I mean, that's what's in the back of my mind. I'm going to have a couple of conversations with a couple of different people before I finally nail it down.
Well, it is a huge undertaking, and you're definitely well equipped for it. What does, like last night, we had the open mic, and that was sort of a spicy space. You obviously have a lot of poems that are about all kinds of, whimsical things, whatever takes your fancy in that moment. What is the majority, would you say, topic wise? Do you tend more into just sort of daily life kind of things, or?
Life and death.
Mhm.
There is a little bit of life and a little bit of death in every single poem. So that is my topic, life and death, and you can find it in all of my work. It's there.
Do you think that came from like the religious indoctrination? Because that almost seems like maybe that sort of realism, underpinning the creative work might possibly have come from that.
Well, the just the fact that I was not probably allowed to talk about some of these things. is how I am kind of feeling like I'm compelled by Christ to now talk about these things and not keep quiet about things, especially social injustice and, worldly events that are happening that are, oppressing whole groups of people. And this SHIT has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
So I want to be able to say something about it along with everyone else who's saying something about it, because I'm in that group, you know. Um,
Do you venture into kind of like political poetry and position pieces and stuff like that?
oh yeah, yeah, I do. And there's some in the book. You want to hear 7 cries for justice?
Yes.
Haiku.
I love that name too. 7 Cries for Justice. Like that.
Here we go. Injustice, George Floyd. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. There is no justice. Breonna Taylor. I raise a cry for justice. Her death travesty. Murdered while sleeping. No defense, no protection. Breaking into home. No Miranda rights. Shoot first, ask questions later. Gun fights, no insights. Children are dying just watching a football game. Caught in the crossfire. Death penalty rules in the wrong place at wrong time. Innocent life gone. Young Black man accused. Life incarceration lie. Wrongly imprisoned.
Oh. Now, was that inspired by someone that you had personal knowledge of, or just political events of the day?
This is history. This is facts. And it's just, there's some names in here that were historical. This actually happened. And the last piece about being wrongly imprisoned happens all the time. So this is, some of the things that I've been reading about now that they have DNA testing that they didn't have before. Some people are being let out of prison that have been there their whole lives because they didn't have the means to prove them to be innocent than they do now. So this is what I'm talking about when I'm saying that this is a whole bunch of people. This isn't just one person in particular. And because of what we have now, because science has come so far where we do have DNA testing, we can prove now innocence of a lot of people who were wrongly imprisoned. Whether they're going to do it or not. I mean, some people I'm sure are still in there. They didn't even get a chance to get proven that they were innocent. They just got automatically sentenced guilty and they're still there.
Because of the way the retention practices seem to work with law enforcement, isn't it typically found that there is DNA evidence in evidence that they can use for that purpose?
Now there is, but I think back back before there was such a thing as DNA testing, they didn't know how to test. Of course, your DNA is going to be there, but they didn't know how to test to prove that that was not somebody else's DNA.
Yeah. Well, I know I myself have proven to myself that I would make a terrible eyewitness, and that, eyewitness testimony is often wrong.
And that's all they had to go on. Yeah, exactly. That's all they had to go on. And it's, look at the witch. Well, look at the witch trials. Look at what happened to those poor women.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not new. This has been going on for a while.
So if you could pick one topic and for the rest of your life, you can't write anything else except, or maybe not topic, but like genre, right? Whether it was erotic poetry or political poetry or, relationship, whatever. If you could only pick one genre, and that this is what you got to stick to for the rest of your career, what would that be?
I think probably humorous prose, because I like to add a little bit of something in there at the end that either makes somebody laugh or might give a spark of hope, or I don't like it just to be doom and gloom 24/7. But sometimes that's what it is. It is doom and gloom 24/7. So, sometimes because it's doom and gloom 24/7, I feel like we need to have something else to lift us out of this like pit, you know?
And you seem like you are very self-confident and have absolutely no problem, like, sort of being the clown, right? If that's what's needed. You seem like
Yeah,
you're really willing
I
to
do.
just jump right
I
into that
break out
part.
in song. Yeah, I break out in when Irish eyes are smiling at the Irish pub.
Nice.
I think there's a reel of me singing this with a paper bag on my head because the day after St. Patty's Day is called Bag Day. And it's because you're in the bag, half in the bag. So you come to the bar the next day after St. Patrick's Day is over, and you wear a brown paper bag on your head or some kind of paper bag on your head, and you decorate that however you want. And they give out prizes for like the best looking paper bag. Mine had a tiara stuck in it.
Nice.
and I and I'm pretty sure there's a reel on my Instagram page of me singing when Irish eyes are smiling with a brown paper bag on my head with a tiara stuck in there. So look
Now,
for that.
this is like it's for the purpose of like a six sack because you drank so much the day before. Is that what it's for?
I actually wasn't drinking at all. I just enjoy the festivities at the place. So I go there and because I used to be a part of that scene back in my recovery days. When I was not in recovery, I was just out there drinking with everybody else. The Irish pub was one of the places that I used to hang out, like my old stomping grounds. But there's no more fun place to be in anywhere around here except there on St. Patty's Day because it gets packed out and everybody's in a good mood. They're all drinking, they're all lit up or whatever, and they have all that, corned beef sandwiches and like specials and everything, and it's really like a good price, like really low. And I go there for the food and the atmosphere and just like, and then that guy from Cheers, Kelsey Grammer, and he had that show Frasier. He goes there and guest bartends every St. Patty's Day. So I know he's going to be there. So I go there and I have a picture of me he has his arm around me. We're in this picture together.
That's fantastic.
And, it's pretty cool. It's a lot of fun.
Well, I was not trying to suggest that you were over there getting, tying your one on, but no, I was wondering if that's like the custom, like this custom arose out of people coming into the bar, like dragging in, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
dog.
Yeah. That's been going on for a while. Yeah. But it's so much fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Holidays with their day after, right? The Boxing Day and all that kind of stuff.
Some people stay in there and they're there all night into the next day. So that's for them. They used to just pass out paper bags. Here you go, put this on your head.
Now, the Irish pub, I think of that as being like, firemen and policemen. Like, do you have firemen and policemen in your family?
I have firemen in my family, but not policemen.
So you kind of were probably down at the firehouse when you were a kid. Do you have any firehouse, like fire poems?
No, that really wasn't a big part of my life. Because the person that was involved in that was my uncle, and we would only see him on holidays. And it really, unless the police scanner went off with a fire and he was running out of there really wasn't much. I didn't really associate myself with it, whatever he was doing. And the closest I get to that now is the spaghetti dinner that they have at the firehouse for a fundraiser in town here. And I make sure I'm at that every year because, man, that's good. The ladies really know how to make those meatballs and those spaghettis.
Well,
I'm
do
half
they
Italian,
go to the firemen cook? Because don't the firemen cook at the firehouse?
I think the ladies are back there with the guys. I mean, they're out there dishing out the food, but and helping. But it's awesome. They have a whole section of desserts. It's all homemade desserts by all the wives of the fire guys. And
oh my goodness.
It's just really good. It's just good. And then it's a community event because everybody comes out for that.
Now I see artwork in your background. Are these pieces of art that you have created back there?
No, nope. This is all other artists. I mean, I have a lot of Southwestern design going on in this one room I'm in right now. I did 2 paintings that are over here. I'll show you. But let me turn the camera around to like do that.
More like, okay, so turning the camera around. So that one there I did.
Oh my goodness.
And
Wow.
that one is actually, I'm modeled after another artist's work that I saw. But this one here is another one I did that is a fall tree. I did this in one of those painting classes where you go and they kind of show you how to paint a tree.
That's
And then I
beautiful.
actually did this other little one over there, but I don't know if you can see it.
That's beautiful.
If I can't make it bigger for you. But that
Wow.
little heart with the birds and the tree thing.
That
Was another,
that reminds me of your Heart of the Artist graphics.
yeah, that's another piece that was a painting that was one of those art, those classes that they do, but they're like parties where women all come together, or whoever wants to go. You pay a
Yeah.
fee and you
Well,
have a canvas and paint, and then there's somebody up there instructing, and then you just follow the instructions and you make
I
your
love
own.
that. I love that. So your Heart of the Artist poster that Catalyst made was a heart. And I love that because your picture that you just showed us, the small one, is like a heart. I think Catalyst was channeling your inner vibe when she made that for you.
Maybe. I love the poster. The poster is gorgeous.
She does. We love Catalyst. Beautiful mind, for
I
sure.
want to take that poster and frame it and put it somewhere in my house.
So, are you going to be going to the Poetry Fest in September? This has been kind of the topic of conversation.
I am scheduled to. I'm on the flyer. I'm planning on it. Funds wise, I'm not sure what the funds are going to be looking like back then. I've been trying to find a price on a flight, and it's so far into the future, they don't let you book that far ahead.
Right.
And I'm getting on a flight on the 30th to go down to Florida, and they didn't even tell me what gate I'm on or what terminal I'm in. And I'm like, what is wrong with traveling in error today? Like, they are going backwards too. Like, I got on the phone and I'm like, you can't tell me a week before I'm going what gate I'm in and what terminal I'm in. You got nothing here. You got a blank. You got a dash. The hell am I supposed to guess? I'm trying to get a ride to the airport, so I got on the phone with
They're
them.
taking off from the arrival area.
Yeah, I'm like,
So
I'm trying to get a ride there, and you're not. I don't even know where I'm going. Like,
so the Poetry Fest, if you go to that, I'm assuming you will be performing with there's like a big group and there's going to be a big on stage performance. Will that be kind of like the biggest in-person performance you will have done if you end up attending that?
no.
So what's the biggest one you've gotten to participate in?
I've been to the poetry festival in New York City twice.
Oh,
I got on the stage of the Neo twice, and I was down in Atlantic City way, but that really wasn't a big crowd. But they had a poetry festival down there like a couple of years ago. I was down there for that. And I've been I popped in over at the Poetry Renaissance in New Jersey, which was run by Damian Rucci. It's still, he's touring right now, but he comes back because he's from New Jersey and out in the Belmar area. And I've been out there a couple times performing. And then Tuckerton, I went out. Like, I do some live performing when I can. And then Smithville had a festival. I was over there, and that was again Soup Can Magazine from Tuckerton. And that guy's name is Chris. Blanking on his last name right now. Hope he's not listening to this. But I've been around already for the last couple of years. I've been moving around trying to get my feet wet performing live, because that's not really my thing. I'm more of a page poet, I would call myself. Like, writing out prose is, kind of hard to stand up in front of a crowd and read prose, because they lose their attention span very quickly, unless it's so good that they're engaged. If you keep them on the edge of their seats somehow. But basically, it's it's different. It's a different animal, I think, than like, say, slam poetry, which I do some slams, but it's definitely not it's there somewhere, but it's not really in my wheelhouse. It's not my thing. I can do it, but I have to be pissed. I really got to be pissed when I'm reading the poem for it to come off.
But I think that's great that you have your irons, kind of in these different fires, and you push yourself and test yourself and do all this stuff. Do you have a certain like a ritual or like some self-care or anything that you do when you know that you're going to do an onstage performance?
Um, I do a lot of yoga. I do like every Sunday I'm in a yoga class, and it's not the kind of yoga that is like the hot, sweaty kind of yoga. It's the yoga that's the yin yoga, and it's more like relaxing and getting into the deep muscle and just the fascia and just calming your mind down. I make sure I'm there every Sunday because I need it because it's another thing I do for self-care. Um, and just talking to my therapist when I need to talk to somebody, making sure I have somebody to call, um, and doing like things for myself that I like to do, which like sometimes I just get out and drive around in my car and just look at things, just get
Didn't
out of
I
my
ask you
head.
before? Are you an air sign? Didn't I ask you this before, I think?
I'm Capricorn, and I have Sagittarius and Aquarius as moon and rising.
Because I always feel like whenever I talk to you, like I always feel like the air energy, right? Because your mind is mercurial, just your wheels are always turning.
Yes, so sometimes I just get out and I look at different houses and different areas that I used to live in, and I go and see what does it look like now. Like I wrote a piece one time about that too in one of my journals. It didn't make it into the book. That is talking about then and now.
Yeah. I
Like
would love, do you have access to that? I would love to hear that.
that could be a good workshop for like
Yeah.
a topic like then and now. Maybe if I ever get invited back to Tumble Words, I will maybe do something. I
Yeah.
don't think that my services are required because there's a lot of people that they have at their disposal to be there just at a drop of a hat to do different workshops. But I mean, I did one on the heart last time, which was
Mhm.
interesting.
Yeah. Love that. A lot of interesting approaches to that one, I'm sure.
Yes,
Well, we're
and I
we're
write a lot
almost at
about.
our time, but I would love to, first of all, definitely want one more poem from you before we close out. But also, and I know we started out kind of talking about, your passions with, what you do for a living is giving back to the community and your love of rescue and all those things. But I always like to give time for people to talk about if you have specific charities that you want us to be aware of, to know about, support specific causes. So I wanted to give you a little more time to talk about that as well.
Well, the gun legislation laws. I mean, I'm part of that book, the gun anthology that Marissa put out. I definitely sign every petition against, you know, our government being able to give anybody a gun and not have any background checks or anything. I'm from New Jersey where they had Sandy Hook happen, and there's still Sandy Hook Promise and some charities like that. I don't know if they have one for the gun shooting that was down there in Texas, but um, if there is, I would recommend, you know, um, definitely contributing to those kind of charitable organizations. Also, for the dogs, for the pit bulls, for the breed specific legislation that go against, you know, saying that any one breed is too dangerous to have as a pet, anything like that, or even the government overstepping their laws into areas like women's bodies in and things like anything that would take away a woman's rights. I'm signing that petition so that my rights don't get violated. There's a lot of bullshit going on right now with the reversal of Roe and Wade, and I am not really on the fence about it anymore. I'm sort of like, you know what? Anything that takes away another woman's rights needs to go. Any step that we're making in the opposite direction of that is a step backwards. So let's not keep going backwards, people. Let's go
You did
forward.
mention earlier that there's a place that you buy dog products from. I can't remember the name of it, Pitbull Pride or something like that.
Pitbulls and Addicts, they have a storefront now where you can buy things, and you can the proceeds from anything you buy from them goes towards helping those dogs. And there's also a coffee place called Grounds and Hounds that I buy my coffee from there because they also donate back to the dogs.
That is insanely cute. Grounds and Hounds.
Grounds and
Wow.
Hounds.
They probably have a website, I'm guessing.
They
right?
do. It's groundsandhounds.com.
Love that.
So yeah, just get your voice heard out there. If you don't like my cause, pick your own cause. There's plenty of causes out there. Just get your voice heard. Let's not just be complacent and sit around, get a label that we're not doing anything, because yeah, not doing anything is worse than doing something wrong, I think. Do something, and do something in the right direction. Take a step forward.
Love that. Love that. So do you have a particular poem maybe that kind of reflects that ethos of like, take action, let's not get sucked down into entropy, make something happen, get the lead
Yes.
out.
Yes. Get off your butts. Get fire under your ass.
That's it.
Stop getting too complacent. And that's what the government wants. They want us to get too complacent where we just don't want to move off the couch. I think that's what their goal is. And then they have no problems with you, because you're not doing anything controversial. You're not saying anything that they need to worry about. So I would say for that, I'm looking for this piece that I wrote called Advocate for Change.
And do we get to meet Violet before we close out? Is she around?
Yes, she's over here sleeping. Here, let me get into the contents. This is one of the books. When I went to the New York Poetry Festival, it was raining, and some of my books got wet, and so I had a lot of books with me, so I couldn't sell some of the books that got wet. So this is one of those books that got wet, but it makes it extremely difficult to turn the pages because they stick all together.
They stick, yeah. Oh, what are you wearing any creative socks today? We didn't get to ask you about your socks.
I am wearing Christmas tree socks because they're just warm. And in my house is cold. So you need to see my socks.
Yes, you're always getting your sock on.
So this one.
If anyone is inspired to like send you a gift, they should send you socks.
I've been angry about oppression most of my life. I've been an advocate and a pioneer for change, at least where I come from, where the neighborhood is all the same and everyone knows your name. Lately, with the BLM movement, I have been a mouthpiece and have suffered the verbal clapback of my statements posted on Facebook. Many came to attack as well as defend the sentiments. Groups of people are being systematically targeted. These are historical facts, not opinions. Nothing will change unless we change it. I find it ironic that the colonizers came to America to escape persecution and repression in their own countries. I realize that there is a cause to rebel for every type of persecution. It is our duty as humans to fight for the powers that be to end repression. Not for, fight the powers to be to end repression. I'm pissed off that those in charge are white supremacist assholes, and other things like my hairdresser messing up my hair and then refusing to admit the mistake, even after I demanded my money back. Follow the money and you will see the failure of humankind. Dollars, endless dollars, and all this irreparable damage in the name of God and country. So that's that piece.
There you have it. The Chameleon Poetic. Very well said. Very well said. Get off your ass and do something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Don't do nothing.
Don't do nothing. Now, your book is available at reddergreenbooks.com. Is it also available on Amazon as well, or just through Red or Green?
Right now, it's only available through Marissa and me if you contact me, or I have it for sale in a bookstore down here called Oddball Vintage.
Oh, cute.
Perfect place for my book to be.
Love that.
And I already sold a couple copies from there, so that was a little nice investment there. Being
Yeah.
able to get the, just get exposure. I went to the local library, and here's another little tip for anybody that has a book. If you go to the local library and you propose that you want to do a book talk, they will pay you, and you will get exposure. And if you want, you can donate your book to the library, and then they'll have a copy of your book there for anyone to check out.
Nice. Words of wisdom. Words of wisdom. Terri, thank you so much for being with us. You are a pleasure and a joy. And the more I get to know you, the more I love knowing you. And I look forward to many more conversations. Look at the dog. Oh my God. She is ridiculously cute.
Oh my God, puppy.
Look at her speckles. Oh my gosh.
What a gorgeous soul.
Oh, Violet.
So that's
She's
your
adorable.
exposure to Violet.
She is too cute. Just like her mama.
Thank you.
Ultraviolet. I had to say it.
So if you want to close, I know you love the haikus. Do you have like a haiku or anything you want to close us out with before we close the show?
Yeah, I do. So this one, actually, these haikus were in a workshop that Brian Franco had. Now, Brian Franco doesn't have many workshops, but I highly recommend, if you should ever have another one, that you attend, because
He is brilliant.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
And funny.
Yes. I'm looking for those that I wrote in his workshop. I call it 3 Happy Haiku. Happiness happens, hopefully, honestly won. Happy honey bun. Happiness happens. Hover on clouds or earthbound, heavenly harp sounds. Happiness happens, hidden in tearful faces, holding heart spaces.
That is definitely the great way to close out the heart of the artist. I love that. Thank you so, so much for being with us today. You have such beautiful, fantastic energy. You're a beautiful human, and I'm so glad that we have gotten to know you. So thank you. Thank you for sharing yourself with us and just for letting us into your world.
Thank you for having me.
We love you, Terri. Thank you for everything you do.
This is the I love you in sign language.
Love you always.
Love that. Love that. Guys, this has been The Heart of the Artist, Terri Rose Jertson, the Chameleon Poetic. Please check her out at www.reddergreenbooks.com. Buy her book. It is absolutely beautiful and amazing, and she is fantastic too. She's going to have another book coming out maybe in a year-ish or so. Sooner?
Very soon.
There you go. So thank you so much for joining us. We will see you next week on The Heart of the Artist Catalyst. My beautiful friend.
Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.